He's a hero. Now give him a hand. And look, all this work that's being done, if that's it, I don't know what we'll do. Come on now, y'all can do better than that. Come on. You don't know how many guys in the stage.
Praise the Lord. I was yelling yesterday, that's why I can't get on now.
Thank you, Reverend. You know, you can call me a hero, but I gotta be honest, like, y'all are the real heroes. And I'm gonna explain why. You know, we started this work in 2018, when there was the first lead action level exceeds in the fall of 2018, when the city first found high levels of lead in Benton Harbor's drinking water. You know, we were keeping an eye on it, but, you know, I work for an organization, Great Lakes Environmental Law Center over in Detroit, so I wasn't living with it every day like you all were. And I wasn't the one that was sort of first bringing the attention of, you know, your mayor, your city council members, legislators, the governor, like you all were. And I wouldn't have paid any attention to it if you all weren't raising your voices and saying, hey, we're living with something that's unconscionable over here. And so you all, what we did was we filed a petition with the EPA under the Safe Drinking Water Act. But honestly, it wasn't anything that special. I mean, what we did was basically take the things that you all were raising for years, repackaged it and put it into basically a legal document and used our position as lawyers, as engineers, and quite frankly, as white people, and put it in front of the people that, and to get the response that you all deserve. But that was it. You know, you all were raising it. You all were doing things that you were doing. And so I think that's the important place to start, because you know, we wouldn't be here without the amazing work that you all have been doing. And so what I'm going to do today is just talk a little bit about our work in creating that petition and sort of what led us to do that, along with Reverend Pinckney and Elin Betanzo here, and what's happened since then. And then I'm going to turn it over to Elin to really dig into some of the details about what you all need to be looking out for to make sure that you're protecting yourselves going forward. So, as you all know, it's not over. It's not over yet. And so we need to make sure that you all have that good information so that you can protect yourselves, protect your families. But as I said, I work for Great Lakes Environmental Law Center over in Detroit. One of the key lessons that we learned from Flint was, you know, this is going to, first of all, we knew this was going to happen again. And we knew that, meaning there was going to be a community with a lot of lead in their drinking water. And when it happened again, particularly if it was in a community that was a community of color and that wasn't treating its water properly, that it was going to take a long time to lower lead levels. And that there would be that prolonged exposure for families and residents living in that area. And so when we saw Benton Harbor pop up and have lead concentrations above the action level, that raised a lot of red flags for me personally. And we wanted to make sure that we were staying on top of it, that we were tracking it and making sure that everything was being done to get those lead levels down as quickly as possible. And so what we did was basically track the state response. We didn't track the local water system response. We tried to see if it was essentially up to snuff. If it was up to snuff legally, and if it was up to snuff from a public health perspective. If enough was being done, it's the basic goal of making sure all Benton Harbor residents get safe drinking water. And you know, unfortunately, what we saw was we didn't think that was happening. So after that first lead action level exceeds, essentially that triggered three key things that the state and the local water system began doing. Began monitoring the water a bit more. So they monitor basically 60 households every 6 months to try to see if lead levels were going down. They started to introduce water treatment to prevent lead concentrations in people's homes. And they started to replace lead pipes. And so those were the three big things. And so after that, the fall of 2018, we basically basically kept checking in, kept looking in and seeing from the monitoring, is the lead levels going down? And it became apparent as things were going along that they weren't. We were trying to stay on top of what kind of water treatment is the water system introducing, and is that working to get lead levels down? And we had a lot of concerns about that. And we were very concerned about the pace of the replacement of lead service lines. When we first started this work, they were talking about 40 years in terms of taking to replace lead pipes.
My God.
And then in the lead up to filing the petition, they were talking about, well, it's going to take 5 years. We wanted them to get that work done yesterday.
Amen. Amen.
And so, essentially what we were concerned about in terms of the state response, in terms of the water system response, was we saw it as slow and ineffective, but we also thought that the concerns of you all, the concerns of the residents, were being downplayed.
Come on now.
That they were saying, this isn't a big deal, you're making a lot about nothing, we're not Flint, we're not all this. And so what we wanted to do with the petition was just come through and say, no, these people have legitimate concerns. This is, the lead in Benton Harbor's drinking water presents an imminent and substantial endangerment to public health, to the folks there. And, the final straw for us was, like I said, we had been tracking the petition, or the lead levels of Benton Harbor's water since the fall of 2018. And in July of 2021, they released sort of another batch of sampling results. And we looked at that batch, which basically was sampling results from January to June of 2021, so essentially 3 years after the problem first came up. And it wasn't getting any better. The lead levels were still high. In some homes, we were seeing lead levels nearly 90 times the federal standard that Reverend Hickey was referencing. And we didn't see any end in sight for the crisis. We didn't see how lead levels were going to be reduced sometime in the next year or 2 years. And so, and when we brought this up with the state, and when we brought this up with the local water system, and said, this is growing into a really significant problem. This has been going on for 3 years. This is too long. What are you doing to make sure residents have safe drinking water right now? We weren't getting the answers that we wanted. What we wanted was bottled water to be available for every Benton Harbor household. We wanted them to replace the lead pipes as quickly as possible. Our initial ask was within a year. And we wanted them to just provide the robust services that Benton Harbor residents deserve to help them through this really significant public health crisis. We wanted them to make services available to families so they could protect their kids, so they could get let out of their homes, so they could get let out of their drinking water. And quite frankly, we weren't getting that. You all weren't getting that, and you all deserve that. And so we decided to file a petition, as Reverend Hickey mentioned, in September of 2021, in the hopes that it would deliver those things for you. And it right away it didn't do much, but it caught the national media in October of 2021, and it really turned on a lot of action. It made the state of Michigan pay attention to the things that you all have been raising for years, and it made them give you the things that you had deserved for years, and make sure that you all had safe drinking water, even if it's bottled water, which I know isn't easy to live with. And so essentially what happened in response was in October, the state of Michigan came through after that media storm, and you started delivering bottled water to Benton Harbor residents. Announced that they were going to replace all lead service lines within 18 months. And started to distribute water filters, which, as I mentioned, as Reverend Hickey mentioned, we have a little bit of misgivings about, and Elon's going to talk more about that. But none of that would have been possible without you all first raising all of these issues, and we were just fortunate enough to link up with Reverend Evan Pinckney. And, you know, when I first met him, you know, I asked him, what do you think about what's going on here? Like, what do you want to see happen? And, you know, he told me that he felt that you all were being ignored, that you all deserve more of a response from the state, from Benton. And so at that point, you know, what we did was just try to game plan how we could change this, how we could change the conversation, how we could get those things for you. And, you know, decided on the petition, and, you know, that things have been moving ever since. And so it's just been my great privilege to do that work and to be there for you all. It's been my great privilege to be here today. I'm going to turn it over to you.